Hello and welcome to the very first edition of Zoning In. My name is Frosty, and the idea behind this and hopefully future videos is to spotlight a zone, talk about some of the interesting things in that zone, and even recount some of the experiences that I've had there. So let's begin this by taking a look around Duskwood. Many players, myself included, came to the zone from Red Ridge. Coming from that direction, Duskwood appears to be yet another safe foresty zone like Elwyn Forest was. There's even an inviting bridge and a shaded path. Along the shoreline, frogs play, and even to the north, you can even see familiar places such as Elwyn Forest again. You're familiar with animals like wolves and bears, and they are roaming around. For someone coming here for the first time, you wouldn't be able to foretell what this zone has in store for you. The transition begins early, and goes from the kind, gentle forest to a grim, dark place. That starts to make you question whether it was actually a good idea to come here. So let's start our journey all the way from the west side of the zone first, as we zoom over to the Hushed Bank. Since Cataclysm, the Hushed Bank has been overlooked by these two grave robbers. Sven Jorgen has been chased away to another storyline that we will get to later. From the Hushed Bank, we head east and up the hill to Raven Hill Cemetery, somewhere where I spent lots of time leveling. This is one of the most interesting parts of the zone in my opinion. Here you can see the Dawning Woods Catacombs, where adventurers will go down, face hordes of undead, and eventually face Morbent Fell the Lich, who at one time was a human that you had to kill, and I think since Cataclysm they've now changed him to a Lich that you just go and kill instead. He's of course up to no good. I remember trying to beat him back in the old days. It was interesting because you had to use an item to disarm his shield, and it was pretty difficult at the time. I think I died a lot to Morbent Fell, so... Heading up this path to the house over here called the Forlorn Row, I remember back in the day facing off against Morladim, who was an elite skeleton mob that would kill you in an instant if you got too close to him because he had a really large aggro radius. I also remember for people calling for groups to come and kill him. The Raven Hill Cemetery, of course, is full of undead, and lots of them. Also these catacombs that you had to go down and do quests in. All of that brings us now to the small little town of Raven Hill, which used to be very abandoned, but now the Worgen have moved in and are trying to clear up some of the problems with the undead and the Worgen in the area as well. There's also a flight path, which is nice, because I used to remember running to Sentinel Hill from here because it was faster than going all the way to Darkshire. One of the Worgen that you'll meet here is Oliver Harris, and he says, "I don't care how low the success rate here is. If we save even one Worgen from the madness and savagery of the woods, our struggles will not be in vain." He'll become an important quest giver, and you'll see the return of Sven Jorgen. Along with Oliver Harris, the other Worgen have moved in as well. This is Ella, the reagent vendor, who I thought would be interesting to point out. She's actually standing in this cart really high up off the ground, and I thought that was kind of neat. Other Worgens, such as Sister Elsington and the other ones that have moved in, all give a little bit of a brighter feeling to Raven Hill, so that maybe it'll have a better future. Now for a little change of pace as we head to the Twilight Grove. Very night elfy feel, very different from the rest of the zone. This is one of the places where the Dragons of Nightmare used to spawn back in the old days. And I remember coming here and fighting back in Vanilla WoW, and forming raids to come and kill the world bosses, and watching lots and lots of players get killed. Lots of fun memories were made, even though I don't think I ever defeated one of the Dragons of Nightmare, actually. Heading east from there, this is a part of the zone I call the Crossroads. This is kind of where you would turn south to go to Stranglethorn Vale. This is where I remember encountering lots of horde and being really scared as a low-level player. Interesting fact about this area, when I first made a human warrior, after we got to like level 2, I ran all the way to this point, corpse hopping, not knowing anything, because this was my first MMO, and ended up dying in this very spot and having to be rescued by one of my friends who was level 60. And if there wasn't already enough to deal with, here's the Volgor Ogre Mound, where the Splinterfist ogres hang out. And the ogres, of course, just delight in pillaging and taking anything they can from the nearby Alliance villages. So finally we make our way to Darkshire itself. What used to be a really nice city is now just a shell of its former self, shut off from the protection of Stormwind, Most likely, I would think, due to the Worgen influence and not wanting to get involved with that, it kind of falls under the protection of us as the players, its citizens, and also a group that is there called the Night Watch. Needless to say, Darkshire is the quest hub for the zone, and it has lots of neat quest lines. One of those involves this NPC named Blind Mary, who's a quest giver located in her little house over by the Tranquil Garden Cemetery. Now, apparently she used to be a very beautiful woman who was killed by the undead at one time, and then she turned into a wraith, and she said that she was so ugly that she didn't want to see herself, so she threw out her looking glass and actually tore out her own eyes with her bare hands. And of course, where did her looking glass end up? It ended up with, well, this mob that's called Insane Ghoul. That's actually his name. And you have to go and kill him to retrieve the looking glass. That was interesting. He was like holding some flowers here. But yeah, he just kind of runs around like crazy. He really is an insane ghoul. One of the other notable places is the Beggar's Haunt. And I remember back in the old days, there used to be these like high-level horde NPCs here instead. And they'd chase you and kill you if you got too close. There's also the Legend of Stalvan questline, which kind of culminates in this area. I'm not going to give it all away, but the Stalvan questline is fantastic. One final thing about Duskwood is the fact that there are a lot of Worgen, and that's for a good reason. They have some history with this zone, you could say. Jitters, who's an NPC you'll find at Ravenhill, at one time he came into contact with the Scythe of Elune, which had ended up in the zone. When he did, he brought with him a large amount of Worgen, who chased him across the zone, filling it with Worgen and shadow and death, I guess you could say, everywhere he went. And there are Worgen everywhere of all different kinds. I mean, there's Worgen that are just fighting each other. There's Worgen that are killing wild animals. And it's interesting, you can see they just kind of have lost their minds to the curse. You'll be sent on missions to kill Worgen. I mean, there's even Worgen that are like summoning demons, like they're Worgen warlocks. It really did play, I think, a big part in the zone and how it ended up like it did. They are kind of cut off from Stormwind, who has refused to offer them the protection of the city. And for good reason. I think Stormwind really just did not want to get mixed up in the Worgen curse. Even though it's so close, I think they just thought it better to just isolate the town of Darkshire. So Darkshire kind of has to fend for themselves against not only the Worgen, but the undead and the ogres and the horde who frequently attack here and kill low-level players. I remember lots and lots of times coming into game when I was leveling through this area and zoning in the inn, and there was horde killing people everywhere. But all good memories. One of my favorite zones, honestly, in the game. So thank you for watching, guys. I hope you really did enjoy the video. If you did, subscribe, like, comment, and let me know what you thought. I really would love to do more of these videos in the future, so it would be really great to know if you have any zones you'd like to see.